Part 27. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 265. This heavy rain in Tokyo will be difficult to calm down for a while. Because Lan came with a message, they didn't stay where they were chatting. Yuki, Kurosawa. Meeting at the door of the martial arts hall, she and Aoi waited for a while, and when she saw two people walking over holding hands, she immediately ran up excitedly. Lan, I'm sorry for keeping you waiting for so long. As they met, Yuki Ichino's felt a little ashamed when she saw her enthusiastic look. Because what happened after the game was very complicated, her mood kept fluctuating and she didn't have time to look at her phone. It's okay. She and Aoi saw the slightly swollen corners of her eyes and shook her head. Obviously, Yuki cried once, and she cried hard, and she didn't know why. But that's not important. The key is that they hold hands and come together, and the result will be good. When couples quarrel and argue, labor pains are unavoidable. As long as the story ends, it will be fine after the rain. Haven't seen you for a long time. Finding that she was still as lively and energetic as ever, Kurosawa Hikaru smiled. Long time no see, Kurosawa, when will you go on a date with us? I'm still waiting for you to take photos for me. I also want to be an internet celebrity. She and I also responded, and then said with a smile. I'll find time next time, but not until Yuki and I have another date alone. Kurosawa shrugged this statement. It is unrealistic for him to just take a few photos and turn Lan into an internet celebrity. But for Lan, he should try harder next time and put on makeup for her. After all, Lan was always by Yuki's side when he was busy these days. Even for today's archery competition, Lan came with us, which was very considerate. Don't worry, we have plenty of time during the summer vacation. Only you are busy. She and Aoi breathed a sigh of relief after hearing this, and then nodded. As for the next date alone, it seems that the two of them will really have no problem. Lan, have you eaten? Noticing her little expression of rejoicing for herself, Yuki Ichino's felt a little grateful and asked. I went out to eat, what about you? I've eaten too, sorry. No need to apologize for this little thing. Just finish eating. I feel relieved when I see you still holding hands. She and Aoi waved her hand, and then looked at their intertwined hands, feeling happy too. Seeing her mentioning this, Yuki Ichino's looked at Hikaru Kurosawa beside him and couldn't help but laugh. Yes, she was holding hands with brother Guang, which was very reassuring. What are you going to do next? Do you want to go to the game? I may not have time to accompany you in the afternoon. My boyfriend is looking for me, so I have to go find him. She and I noticed that although she had cried once, she was smiling happily, so she nodded and said. It's raining so heavily, are you going to find Sato? Ichino's Yuki was a little surprised and looked at the heavy rain outside the martial arts hall. I brought an umbrella. Aoi Shiana nodded, then opened her small bag, which contained a folding umbrella. Even so. The bag belongs to its original owner. I'm leaving now. Goodbye. Please be nice. She and Aoi didn't give her a chance to say more, stuffed another bag into her, took out the folding umbrella from the bag, opened it and walked outside, giving them space to be alone. Soon, she walked out of the eaves, into the rain, and left without looking back. She had been waiting at the martial arts hall because she was worried about Yuki's condition, and she was relieved to see them holding hands. Blue is very good to you, Kurosawa Hikaru couldn't help but said as he watched the figure gradually walking away under the rain. Yeah, Yuki Ichino's nodded. Brother Guang, your clothes are wet. Go home and take a shower and change. The cold won't be cured. Watching Ian's back go away, Ichino's Yuki looked at Hikari next to him and said. She noticed just now that brother Guang's hair and clothes were completely wet, as if he had rushed back in the heavy rain. It's just that the atmosphere and timing of Zion K were wrong, and I never had a chance to say it. Now that we've finished talking, I can finally say it. Indeed, Kurosawa Hikaru looked down and nodded. I have an umbrella at this moment. Yuki Ichinose took the bag in his hand and took out a folding umbrella. Because they are hot girls, they are more concerned about the weather than ordinary girls, because whether the weather is good or bad depends on whether they do indoor or outdoor activities. Besides, if it gets wet in the rain, your makeup will fade. When Kurosawa Hikaru returned home, he took a shower and changed into clean clothes. It was already past 4 p.m. After leaving the bathroom and walking into the bedroom, Kurosawa Hikaru sat by the bed, picked up the phone connected to the charging cable and took a look at it, and saw the message Xiaoyuki replied. I'm back home too. My clothes are wet too. Let's go take a shower first. Go. Kurosawa Hikaru took the phone and replied, then wiped his hair with a towel. This time he got home first because his home was closer to the martial arts gym. Originally, he wanted to send Xiaoyuki to the door of his house, but Xiaoyuki was unwilling and said that his clothes were all wet and asked him to go home and take a shower. Staying at home alone, the room is very quiet, and the sound of rain outside the window seems to trap everyone in the house. Girls usually take longer to take a shower than boys. After drying his hair, Kurosawa put the dry towel aside, relaxed and fell on the bed. Looking at the familiar ceiling, because he was alone, he also had a break to think alone. Today was an extremely long day. The archery competition was very simple and not difficult for him. But after the archery competition ended, what happened became more complicated and difficult than the last. What does Xiaoyuki mean by comfort zone? Kurosawa Hikaru pondered a question and felt deeply puzzled. Logically speaking, even after he got the system, he did not stay in his comfort zone. Even if he was busy and tired every day, he tried his best to do everything well. At 0 o'clock in the morning, people will enter the network suppression mode. In fact, this is because everyone thinks of many things when they are alone. There was a brief silence. Although he deliberately focused on Xiaoyuki's affairs, something was coming out deep in his heart. It was the heart-wrenching pain, the guilty emotion, and the regretful shame that he wanted to suppress. Accompanying this emotion is the figure and appearance of Ninomiya Chizuru. Suddenly, he couldn't help but pick up his phone, opened Line, found a name, and clicked on it. This is Ninomiya Chizuru's chat interface. The last chat record was last week. They did not communicate through text, but recorded the duration of their voice chat. Line may not retain the content of the voice call, but he still remembers the content of that call vividly. At that time, because Senior Mickey was waiting for him at the school gate, they went to the cafe to have something to drink and chat. Miss Ninomiya found out about this and called him to question him. That day, Miss Ninomiya was extremely jealous just when she saw him drinking coffee with Mickey-san and chatting and laughing. Not only that, but when he carried Miss Runa home, she would be jealous, and she would have to let him carry her to the door when she went down the stairs. He should have noticed a long time ago that Miss Ninomiya is easily jealous, definitely the most jealous among the three girls. Just seeing him talking and laughing with other girls will make you angry. Seeing him having more intimate contact with other girls, and more than once, how can you not collapse? Sorry. Thinking of today's result, Kurosawa's fingers moved slightly and he couldn't help typing text, wanting to apologize. However, just when he was about to send it, his thumb was on the send button, but he still didn't have the courage to press it. Because before his eyes, there was a scene of Ninomiya Chizuru retreating out of instinctive resistance when facing his approach. The multiple choice questions on the test paper have right and wrong, but the multiple choice questions in life are not just as simple as right or wrong, but also mean ever-changing and completely different results. When people are in a state where the internet suppresses the clouds, the most sad thing is regret. If only I had been nicer to her. If only I hadn't broken up with her. If only I hadn't said that. There are no answers, no hints, and no chance to start over in life, so there is this emotion of regret. Xiaoyuki said that I stayed in my comfort zone. Did that mean? Putting down the phone, Kurosawa Hikaru found that he didn't even dare to apologize. He once again recalled what Yuki said at the Budokan and her actions, and couldn't help but mutter to himself. Comfort zone does not mean complete comfort, it can also be understood as being content with the status quo. Stepping out of your comfort zone means breaking the status quo and changing yourself. Doing so requires courage, not just a word or a thought can mean change. Just like many people want to lose weight, many people want to quit smoking, they know that this is not good, but they still can't break the status quo. At most, they can maintain it for a few days and then return to their original shape. Just one step is not enough to get out of your comfort zone. You must take many steps, or even keep going, to change the status quo. When Miss Ninomiya turned around and left, he thought he respected the other party's choice, but in fact he was afraid and chose to stay where he was. If he had bravely taken 5 or 6 steps like Xiaoyuki instead of half a step, there might be room for redemption in this matter. Compared to him, Miss Ninomiya has stepped out of her comfort zone for him, and she has also taken many steps toward him. First he resigned, and then when he saw him being hugged by Xiaoyuki, he didn't flinch, but kept trying to stay calm and deal with the matter. Even in the end, he made a choice and replaced the answer with kiss, determined to together. Faced with her constant pursuit, he stayed within his comfort zone and let things take their own course. He didn't even take a few more steps for Miss Ninomiya. Is this really okay if he doesn't do anything? If he just gives up on Miss Ninomiya and respects the other party's choice, will he really not regret it in the future? He had just warned Xiaoyuki to have a clear conscience and not ask for results. He just wanted to think back on today's events many years later and know that he had worked hard. The funny thing is that he knew this truth but was completely unaware of it. After thinking for a long time, Kurosawa Hikaru picked up the phone again, looked at the message he had edited, hesitated for a long time with his thumb, and finally pressed the send button. Sorry. Even if she felt that she was dishonest and shameless, he still wanted to fight for it and try harder. Huh. As he sent the line message, Kurosawa Hikaru looked at the message and saw that it was sent successfully. He seemed to have lost all his strength, but he also let out some of the frustration in his heart. The apology that he hadn't said just now was finally said. He didn't expect that he could win Miss Ninomiya back with just a sorry, but this was just the beginning. Life is still long, and it won't end so soon, and the relationship between them can't end so easily. 2 more chapters are sent. The recent chapters are more emotional and more thoughtful to write. But please rest assured that it will soon return to the previous state of adding more chapters every day. In addition, this book will be recommended tomorrow, and please support and subscribe to it. I want to compete for the list. Finally, I would like to recommend my friend's book, the new book Evil Girl Feast by Yuyaku Idong Boss. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 266. After leaving the martial arts hall, Ninomiya Chizuru returned to her apartment, hid in her room, and wrapped herself in a quilt. As for Igarashi Runa, she sat by the bed, silent, waiting for her to vent. This bedroom is a bit messy, with underwear, worn stockings, and some clothes placed in various places, piled up in a mess. Although it is messy, it is not dirty, because Ninomiya Chizuru will find a part-time worker to help her clean up every week. It's just that this time, it's particularly messy, maybe she's been too busy recently, and too many things have happened. Igarashi Runa stared at a wall in the room. It was the wall next to the desk, and it was also one of the few neat and clean areas in the room. There was a painting framed in an exquisite frame on the wall. In the painting, Ninomiya Chizuru was sitting by the stream, with her hair tied up and playing in the water. She was so beautiful that it was fascinating, like a work of art. After a long time, I came to the Ninomiya family and came to this bedroom. Igarashi Runa looked at the painting for a long time. Ah! Her mood was very complicated, melancholy, regretful, headache, sighing in her heart. She regretted it very much, because she knew she had done something wrong. When she was at the martial arts hall, Chizuru once asked her for help. She said that sentence out of selfishness, "Don't think so much, just think of one thing, are you willing to do it?" Yes, she said this sentence out of selfishness, because even if she saw what kind of person the real Kurosawa Hikaru was and realized that he was a fickle and philandering man, she still wanted to help him. Because she had seen too many such people in the entertainment industry, although she had always hated such people, Kurosawa Hikaru's actions just happened to be stuck on the edge of hate. Whether it was being honest with each other, or before officially deciding on the relationship with the girl was limited to kissing and not crossing the line. Including these, but not only that, her selfishness was very complicated, so complicated that it was difficult to explain it clearly in one sentence. She was immersed in her own world. As a bystander and outsider, she completely ignored Chizuru's mood and state at the time. One sentence forced Chizuru to make a choice between a dilemma. However, people's endurance is limited. If it exceeds this limit, people will collapse. Ding dong. At this moment, a reminder ring rang in the silent room. Hearing this sound, Igarashi Runa came back to her senses and looked for Chizuru's mobile phone. It was lying on the soft bed, near the head of the bed, but not in the thin quilt. Facing this reminder sound, the bulging hillock did not move at all, and Ninomiya Chizuru still closed herself with the quilt. Because of the angle, she saw that the screen of the mobile phone was awakened by the reminder sound, which was a notification bar reminder of line. However, what exactly was the content, because the mobile phone was facing her in reverse, she could not see clearly. It might be a message from Kurosawa Hikaru, or it might be someone else's message. After all, they are all adults, and they are also busy with work. They have a large social circle, and it is normal to have a lot of messages. Igarashi Runa stared for a long time until the phone screen went into sleep mode again, and she found that Chizuru had no intention of looking at it. There are two possible results. The first possibility is that she did not notice it, and was completely immersed in her own world. She was still in a state of depression and had no time to care about the things around her. The second possibility is that she noticed it, but she no longer cared about it and was completely heartbroken. If it was the first case, it would be fine. As long as Kurosawa Mitsuru spent some time and thought of ways to make Chizuru happy, she might still be able to get out of this blow. If it was the second case, then this matter was very serious. People who were extremely disappointed and completely collapsed were likely to change their temperament in the future. No. Is that really Kurosawa Mitsuru's message? While thinking, Igarashi Runa suddenly thought of something. If Chizuru heard the news and went to see it as soon as she saw it, but found that it was not, Kurosawa Mitsuru respected each other's choices as he said at the beginning, then the problem would only be more serious. Thinking of this possibility, she couldn't help but stand up and walked over to wake up the phone to take a look. When Igarashi Runa walked to the bedside, stretched out her hand, and wanted to press the wake-up button of her mobile phone, she was suddenly startled. Because a hand suddenly stretched out from the quilt, grabbed the mobile phone, and then dragged the mobile phone into the dark abyss. Seeing this scene, Igarashi Runa froze at the head of the bed, and her heart was beating wildly. It has to be said that Chizuru in a state of mental disorder is really as scary as ever. It was like this last time, and it is still like this now. Does she want to see it first? Or is she rejecting me? While still in fear, Igarashi Runa looked at the airtight quilt and thought in amazement. Silence and indifference are terrible for any relationship. In comparison, opening up to communicate is a relatively good signal for all relationships, except quarrels. She suddenly realized, in this matter, Chizuru might hate not only Kurosawa Hikaru, but also her. Because after the game, she helped Kurosawa Hikaru more than once and repeatedly rescued him. As long as Chizuru thought about all these things, it was possible that she would suspect that she had bad intentions and harbor resentment towards her. Just when she was thinking wildly, a gap suddenly appeared in the quilt, and the arm appeared again, pushing the phone out. Did she ask me to look at her phone? Or what do you mean? Seeing this scene, Igarashi Runa didn't dare to move. She was not sure what Chizuru was thinking. Runa. At this moment, a hoarse voice came from the quilt. I am here. Igarashi Runa was excited and responded immediately. I'm hungry, how about you? I'm hungry too, what do you want to eat? Hearing this, Igarashi Runa was stunned and asked. It was already past 4 o'clock in the afternoon, close to 5 o'clock, but they both had breakfast at 7 o'clock in the morning, and they ate very little, so they were already hungry. Pork chop, and porridge. Okay, you can eat whatever you want. Igarashi Runa nodded happily. Let alone fried pork chops, as long as she is willing to eat, I will cook anything for her. She was afraid that he would continue to be depressed like this, forgetting about food and sleep, not eating or drinking. Even if it's a vengeful feast, at least it's a way of venting rather than keeping it in your heart. Ding dong. Before she could set out, her phone rang again. The next moment, one hand fished the phone in. Is it really the message from Kurosawa just now? Seeing this scene, Igarashi Runa had the answer in her heart even if she didn't have time to see it clearly. I'm going to buy ingredients. Igarashi Runa didn't bother him, just said a word, stood up and walked outside. The air conditioner was always on in the bedroom. When she walked out of the room and came to the living room, the sweltering weather due to the rain made her feel as if she had stepped into another world. However, she did not stop, but walked straight to the door, put on her shoes, took an umbrella, and walked out of the apartment. The entertainment industry is like a magnifying glass that magnifies human nature infinitely. When you are in it, you will see many different kinds of people. Even men with good character will become bad when they get rich. Even a smart woman will become stupid once she falls in love. This is neither a good thing nor a bad thing, but a reality and a very pathological phenomenon. Under the morbid social system of Neon, this morbid phenomenon is even more vividly displayed. There are many celebrities and idols who were enthusiastic when they debuted, supporting each other with their friends and making progress together. But later on, he gradually drifted away from his former friends, and even turned against each other, but he reached the pinnacle of his career and life. The key is opportunity, or opportunity. Once a choice is made, the path of life will change. When people stand in different environments, the choices they face will also change. I hope it can go back to what it was before. Runa Igarashi took the elevator, walked out of the apartment, got into his car, and then set off. When the car starts, traffic lights and accidents will inevitably happen, but the car will eventually reach its destination. She doesn't want to judge who is right or wrong today. She just hopes that the world will not trap everyone in this painful day, but move forward and reach a better future. She wanted the three of them to gather together like before to discuss the company's development direction and imagine the future together. She wanted the three of them to sit together, drink and eat together like before. No one enjoys pain, everyone yearns for beauty. Ninomiya Chizuru was still hiding under the quilt. She was lying on her side holding her phone, looking at the messages online, and licked her bitten lip with her tongue. It stung very much, and there was also the strange sweet taste of blood. On the phone were two messages from the person marked light. Sorry. How are you? I am fine. Seeing these two messages, the stubbornness in her heart drove her fingers to type a few words, but they could not be sent. Not good at all. Immediately afterwards, she deleted the message. The grievance and sadness in her heart surged into her heart. She typed out a new message and hesitated before sending it. Not good at all. Feeling mixed with grief and anger, she pressed the delete key and replaced the symbols, wanting to emphasize her anger. However, no matter what kind of message she typed, she never had the courage to press the send button. Because when she tried to respond, two images appeared in front of her like a nightmare. That was the scene when Kurosawa kissed Ichino's Yuki, and when he turned around and kissed Shifunmarai. It hurts so much. These two scenes still make her heart-wrenching and painful, and she can't let go. Didn't you say you respect my choice? What else do you want from me? After hesitating, Ninomiya Chizuru gave another reply. However, no matter what content she changed, she didn't dare to send the message, she didn't dare to respond. Not everything can be said, including information. No matter what the content is, the send button is like a button to make a choice. When people face difficult choices, they always hesitate and everyone has their own concerns. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 267. It's been 10 minutes, and you still haven't replied. Kurosawa Hikaru looked at the line page and muttered to himself. Not getting a response and feedback will make people worry about gains and losses, not knowing whether they have done the right thing or the wrong thing. There is a long way to go. But Kurosawa Hikaru did not get discouraged and sat up. In any case, Miss Ninomiya still saw his message, which is a good sign. At least, he can still feel the presence of Ninomiya Chizuru across the phone. Vice versa, the other party can still feel his presence. They have not completely disconnected and have not disappeared in each other's world. They still have a connection, they can feel each other's existence and know each other's affairs. Maybe Miss Ninomiya has resigned, she is no longer a teacher at the University of Tokyo, and when the summer vacation ends and the next semester begins, they will not meet in school. But before this incident, there is still the 0-hour agency between the two of them. It doesn't matter if she refuses to come to the agency, it doesn't matter if she keeps silent, they are still in contact. Because he took the initiative to take a step, Kurosawa Hikaru has figured out what he should do at this moment. He wants to play one piano piece after another that can resound through the streets and alleys as 0-hour, become a household pianist, and appear on the covers of magazines, newspapers, and promotional posters. If he does this, Miss Ninomiya can see him through various channels and see what he is doing. There will always be a time to meet again. In this Shura field, he did a lot of mistakes. It should be said that he was wrong from the beginning. Facing the problem, he hid in his comfort zone and threw the problem to the other party instead of being frank. It's okay to show his cards, but the last thing he should do is to have close contact with other girls in front of them. I don't know how she will feel in the future, and I have to coax her later. The thought is clear, and he found the direction to do. Kurosawa Hikaru exhaled a breath of turbid air, and he was also aware of it. Then, he picked up the phone again, and Miss Ninomiya still read it but didn't reply. However, he didn't continue to send messages, and he couldn't eat hot tofu in a hurry. If you keep pestering and sending messages, it might make people disgusted. After exiting the chat page, Kurosawa Hikaru suddenly noticed a few messages and was a little surprised. The first message was from my mother, Kwon, when did you learn Kyoto? So handsome. The second message was from Miyazaki Yoda, you are so handsome. The third message was from Junior Mickey, Kurosawa senpai, are you still busy? Xiao Yuki has not replied yet, probably still taking a shower. Just finished, what's up? After thinking, Kurosawa Hikaru replied to Miki Shiraha first. It's not that he treats the other party specially because she is a beautiful girl, but his mother and Miyazaki are talking about Kyoto, obviously coming to congratulate, but she seems to have something to find him. Nothing, I just wanted to ask what you were busy with. Today is the Kyoto tournament, I just finished the competition. Oh, where are you now? At home. Have you gone home? Did you come to watch my competition? When Kurosawa Hikaru saw her words, he could sense her surprise, and when he flipped through the records, he realized the situation. He was a little surprised because he didn't notice the presence of Miki Shiraha in the audience. Maybe it was because he didn't pay attention at first, so there were too many spectators and he ignored it all of a sudden, just like Miyazaki Yuta. Although Miki Shiraha is a very beautiful schoolgirl, there are already several very good girls around him. Yes, didn't you say before, can I come to watch? Of course, did you want to find me? Kurosawa Hikaru thought about it and asked. Anyone can come to watch this Kyoto competition, and he had no reason to refuse before, so he just said it naturally. I wanted to congratulate you, when did you go home? A little after 3 o'clock. I stayed backstage for a long time. I calculated that it was about time to go home and rest. Are you tired? Very tired. Then you should have a good rest first. You too, it's still raining outside, be careful not to catch a cold when you go back. Kurosawa Hikari also responded to her concern. The chat ended here. There was nothing to say. It was just a normal chat. Then, Kurosawa Hikari replied to Miyazaki Yuta. Thank you for the compliment. After a while, Miyazaki Yuta replied. You call this practicing Kyoto? Do you know what everyone says? Your level is the top level in the country. Are you that? What did you experience when you were young? Saying that I hate Kyoto the most, I gave up Kyoto, and then picked it up again, I can beat everything in the sports animation. You are exaggerating. Kurosawa Hikari was a little amused and speechless after hearing this example. It's not an exaggeration at all. Your 3 arrows were so cool. If you had told me earlier that you were so good at it, I would have been really shocked. You don't know, all the girls sitting next to me screamed, especially when you challenged to shoot an arrow through a willow tree from 100 paces away. The scene was too exaggerated. Ha 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 ha. Kurosawa Hikaru didn't know how to respond to his exclamation, so he could only respond with a smile. Where are you now? It's hard to tell by typing. I want to see you. What you said is really corny, I'm at home, I guess I can't meet you. Kurosawa Hikaru saw the sentence I want to see you and teased. Are you at home? Are you with Junior Mickey? Miyazaki Yuta's reply was a little surprised and questioning. I'm home alone, why do you think I'm with her? Because she's waiting for you, she's been waiting for you for a long time, I think you two should be together. She's waiting for me? What does that mean? Kurosawa Hikaru was a little surprised, is this true? Because after the game, Junior sister Mickey has been waiting for someone at the door for a long time. It seems that she has been waiting for you at the door of the martial arts hall since the game ended at around 11 o'clock, and she was still waiting until the afternoon game was about to start. Students from other schools may not know who she is waiting for, but students from the University of Tokyo think she is waiting for you. I think so too, after all, she has waited for you once before. Then you said you went home, so I wondered if you were together. After reading his explanations, Kurosawa Hikaru did not reply, but fell into deep thought. He exited this interface, opened Mickey Bio's page again, and flipped up to look at the chat history. Is it because of that day? After reading the chat history, Kurosawa Hikaru couldn't help but have a headache. No wonder Junior sister Mickey was surprised that he had gone home. It turned out that she was waiting for him at the door of the martial arts hall, but she didn't wait for him. There is a cause and an effect. Last Wednesday, junior sister Mickey asked him if he had a girlfriend, and his ambiguous answer led to this situation. I have a girlfriend. After thinking about it, Kurosawa Hikaru edited a paragraph and sent it to junior sister Mickey. He did not hesitate to send the message this time. If you don't make a decision, you will suffer from the chaos. Although it was touching that junior sister Mickey waited for him at the entrance of the martial arts hall, it was impossible for him and this junior sister. While there was no story and bond between them, he should solve this matter quickly to avoid causing trouble in the future. The message was just sent and it became read in a few seconds. My relationship with her is not what you think. After waiting for more than 10 seconds, Kurosawa Hikaru did not wait for a reply, so he switched back to send a message to Miyazaki Yuta. It must be said that the read function of line is really convenient and troublesome. Okay, Miyazaki Yuta did not say anything more in the face of this reply. Kurosawa Hikaru chatted with him for a few more words, asked him to be careful when he went back on rainy days, and ended the chat. Miyazaki Bayu still did not reply to the message, but read it but did not reply. Kurosawa Hikaru didn't pay much attention to this. He clicked on his mother's page and called her to apply for a voice chat. After a while, the voice chat was connected. Mom, how do you know I can do archery? As the call was connected, Kurosawa Hikaru was a little surprised. You know, this is the Kanto region archery competition. Logically speaking, the attention should be very low. It's so strange that it can reach his mother in such a short time. His mother is Kurosawa Yayoi, a very gentle, virtuous, and hard-working woman. Because someone called me and said you were on TV, I looked it up online and found out that you participated in the archery competition today. Your arrows are really amazing. Kurosawa Yayoi on the other end was extremely excited across the phone. There is such a thing. Kurosawa Hikaru was a little stunned, and then he thought about it and understood. He is also a big celebrity in his hometown, and he was admitted to the University of Tokyo with such outstanding results, so his popularity is very high. What's more, he had such an exaggerated performance in the Kyoto competition this time. Guang, you are really something. You didn't even tell me in advance that you were going to participate in the competition. Then, Kurosawa Yayoi complained on the other end of the phone. I have been busy with special training recently, and I forgot about it. I thought I would tell you after I went back during this period. Facing his mother's soft and gentle complaints, Kurosawa Hikaru was a little stunned, and then explained. He has been worried about the meeting of the three women during this period, so he didn't want to invite more people to watch the competition. The same goes for his parents. He originally felt that it was messy enough, and if his parents were added, it would definitely be a mess. Let's talk about it when that time comes, everything will be over. Sorry, I will tell you next time this happens. Okay, when will you go home for the summer vacation this time? Your dad asked me to ask last Saturday, and I thought you would contact me on your own initiative, so I didn't send you a message or call you. I have something else to do recently. I will go back when I'm done. Is it about work? Kurosawa Yayoi knew that he was working part-time. Yes, Kurosawa Hikaru nodded. Just then, the phone vibrated and there was a new message. It was a message from Xiaoyuki, which popped up from the notification bar. Brother Hikaru, I've finished my shower. Not only that, I'm also in love. Seeing this message, Kurosawa Hikaru realized something and added after thinking about it. Really? Really? However, Kurosawa Yayoi did not reply, but talked to someone else excitedly. The child's father, Hikaru, said he is in love. Is it true? My father's voice was full of surprise, with a strong Aizu dialect accent. Tokyo's most affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 268. Most of it is good news for parents, as long as they are willing to share it with them. Hikaru, what kind of girl is she? Kurosawa Yayoi became curious after congratulating her child's father. Her name is Ichino's Yuki. She is very cute and well behaved, I can't explain a few words. I will bring her back to you later. Kurosawa Hikaru wanted to introduce it to her, but Yuki-chan had so many advantages that he couldn't finish them even if he talked about them for a long time, so he simply said. Seeing is worth hearing 100 times, and meeting once is worth nothing no matter how much you hear. Immediately afterwards, he chatted with his mother for a while. During this interval, he naturally did not forget to send a message back to Xiaoyuki to explain what he was doing. Originally, he wanted to chat with his father, but there was nothing much that could be said between the men through the phone. Treat people well. Yuma Kurosawa took the phone and just said one sentence. Okay, Kurosawa Hikari agreed after hearing this instruction. After calling them, Kurosawa Hikaru made a video call with Koyuki. Brother Guang, are you finished talking so quickly? As the video was connected, Ichino's Yuki was a little surprised. She had just taken a shower. Even though her hair was wavy and curly, it still became soft when wet with water. She looked extraordinarily quiet and well behaved, with a unique temperament. The chat is over. Oh, realizing this situation, Yuki Ichino's nodded. His eyes were a little wandering, and he was restless and curious, but he didn't dare to ask more questions. I told them about you. Seeing through her little thoughts, Kurosawa Hikaru smiled. What did you say? Hearing this, Yuki Ichino suddenly became nervous. I said you are very cute and well behaved. Anything else? I'll take you back to your hometown later and show them a meeting. As soon as these words came out, Yuki Ichino's expression on the phone changed drastically and he was shocked. Don't want to. Seeing this reaction, Kurosawa Hikaru was amused by her and asked. Yes, I am willing, but wouldn't it be too fast? Ichino's Yuki blushed a little and was ashamed. She and brother Guang had only known each other for a little over a month, and they hadn't even done a lot of things. To be honest, she wasn't mentally prepared. It's indeed a little faster. Seeing this reaction, Kurosawa Hikaru was stunned for a moment, as if he had some realization. Although he wanted to make his parents happy, for Xiaoyuki, it was equivalent to meeting his parents, which was a very important thing. Then let's wait until the winter vacation. After thinking about it, Kurosawa Hikaru saw her squirming and suggested. It won't take that long, just take me back, is that really okay? Hearing this suggestion, Ichino's Yuki shook his head, and then couldn't help but say. Of course it's good, why not? Kurosawa Hikaru was a little confused. Wouldn't it be better for you to take Miss Saifanjayuan back? You see, she is tall, fair, well-educated, and very elegant. She is very noble. Your parents will be very happy if they see her. Ichino's Yuki was a little put off. She didn't know very well what kind of people Hikaru's parents were, but in her opinion, it was absolutely amazing to be able to raise Hikaru into such excellent parents. The most important thing is that she has no self-confidence. Compared with Miss Shifanjayuan and Miss Ninomiya, she feels that she is very inferior, can't do anything, and is even a scumbag. Yuki-chan. Realizing that she was struggling with this matter, Kurosawa Hikaru was stunned, thought for a while and then shouted. Exist. Ichino's Yuki, who was thinking wildly, heard this serious call and immediately responded. Don't say this in the future. If anyone is better, you are you. You are excellent, beautiful, and have great temperament. You will not be worse than the future. My parents will definitely be happy to see you. Kurosawa Hikaru didn't have the ability to read minds and couldn't completely see through her mind, but he still said it. To him, Xiaoyuki is Xiaoyuki, the future is the future, and Miss Ninomiya is Miss Ninomiya, each with its own advantages and charms. They are all excellent, but to him, they are all important, there is no distinction between them. Oh. Ichi knows Yuki was taught a lesson by him and realized that his words made him angry, so he nodded honestly. In fact, she didn't want to say such depressing words, but she felt dwarfed by those two people. Against Miss Ninomiya, she at least has the advantage of being young. But against Miss Saifanjayuan, she really didn't know what advantage she had. Because during the hour when Brother Guang was alone and depressed, she had some communication with Miss Saifanjayuan, and realized that she was the same age as her, and also knew that she was in her third year of high school and was planning to take the entrance exam to Dongda University. Compared with her, she didn't know what advantages she had. Do you know what your strengths are? Seeing that she was a little discouraged and inferior, Kurosawa thought for a while and asked. What is it? Yuki Ichino's was a little curious when she heard this. As soon as you see me, you will smile happily, sweetly, and cutely. And when you see me, you will run towards me. Kurosawa Hikaru thought about it for a moment and realized that what he liked most about Yuki-chan was definitely this. Every time Xiao Yuki sees him, she will be extremely surprised and smile happily, as if she has met her favorite person. The feeling that her heart and eyes are full of you can make any man addicted to it and unable to extricate himself. Just liking you, what's the advantage? When Ichino's Yuki heard this, she was a little shy and said coquettishly with her face burning. Of course. Your love for me is obvious, which makes me love you even more. Kurosawa Hikaru nodded heavily, sure of this. In this world, not all emotions can be clearly expressed, and they vary from person to person. Xiao Yuki's feelings for him were like this, as if she loved him to the point of overflowing. Even a look, a word, a small expression, is the feeling of loving you, which makes people honored, happy and healing. As long as he takes one step towards Xiao Yuki will run 99 steps towards him. As long as you love, there will be a feeling of response, which makes people feel at ease and at ease. He was really lucky to meet such a cute little Yuki. Okay. After hearing these words, Ichino's Yuki's face was very red and hot, but her heart was extremely sweet and happy. What time shall we meet tomorrow? Seeing her so happy, Kurosawa Mitsuru felt a little relieved and asked. Brother Guang decides, I can do it. Speaking of tomorrow's meeting, Ichino's Yuki was looking forward to it. Let's meet early tomorrow after you wake up. I want to have breakfast with you. Okay, what are we going to do after we go to the YG office tomorrow? Go to the beach. Don't worry, let's give it a few days. After hearing this suggestion, Kurosawa Hikaru thought about it and postponed it for now. Although he really wanted to go to the beach with Xiao Yuki, he had better wait for a few days to let everyone change their mood. Okay. Yuki Ichino's nodded, then lay on the table and stared at the phone. Maybe it was through her phone, but she could feel that Brother Guang was starting to change back to the way he was before. Obviously, Brother Guang had figured it out after returning, and even stepped out of his comfort zone and started to take action. Brother Guang is so awesome at being able to make up his mind so quickly. Speaking of which, I have one more thing to apologize to you for. Facing her obsessed and loving gaze, Kurosawa Hikaru felt a little ashamed, and then he remembered something and said. What? When Ichino's Yuki heard that he was about to apologize again, she couldn't help but tremble in her heart. Actually, I am 0 hour. Kurosawa Hikaru decided to confess this matter to her. Although he had planned to hide it before, he was timid at that time. Hearing this, Yuki Ichino's first reaction was not sadness, but shock, and his eyes widened. Brother Guang, can you still play the piano? Immediately afterwards, Ichino's Yuki couldn't help but said. Yes, Kurosawa nodded. So last Monday, was it you who performed on stage? Yes, Kurosawa Hikaru nodded a little ashamedly. At that time, he lied to Xiao Yuki that he had no time, but in fact he was on the stage. He is really a sinful man, and he told all kinds of lies just because he stayed in his comfort zone unknowingly. It's amazing, Brother Guang, you can actually play the piano, and you play it so well. However, Ichino's Yuki was not angry or sad. Instead, she recalled the performance that day with great shock and admiration. Singing, surfing, makeup, photography, archery, and playing the piano. He is also so good at studying. How versatile is Brother Guang? Brother Guang, since you are 0 hour, then if I join 0 hour firm, will I work with you? That's right, aren't you angry? Kurosawa Hikaru nodded. Although he was a piano performer and probably had little business cooperation with Xiaoyuki, a model, they could still be considered colleagues, and then he asked. Why are you angry? Because I lied to you, so many times. I know you lied to me, but I also know two things. You have never lied to me. Which thing? Be good to me, and I'll never leave you. Don't give up on me. Yuki Ichino's looked at Hikaru on the phone, and although he was a little shy, he still said. After she realized that Brother Guang was the 0 hour master, she also discovered something. Brother Guang knew that if she joined 0 hour agency, the matter might be exposed, but he still respected her choice. She could see Brother Guang's love for her and his kindness to her. I will definitely not lie to you about this kind of thing. Kurosawa Hikaru was relieved to see that she didn't mind. Speaking of which, whether you can join a 0 hour firm is still a question. How about changing to another firm? Then, Kurosawa Hikari suggested after thinking about it. Why do you want to change offices? The 0 hour agency was opened by myself, Miss Ninomiya, and Miss Runa. Speaking of this matter, Kurosawa Hikaru felt a little headache. Considering the possibility of meeting, it would be better for everyone to keep them separate. Oh, it's no problem. Why is there no problem? Kurosawa Hikaru was a little confused. Because Hikaru, you have stepped out of your comfort zone. No matter what problems you have, you will definitely solve them, Ichino's Yuki said confidently. Do you have to join 0 hour agency? Kurosawa Hikaru didn't expect that she could notice through her phone that he had stepped out of his comfort zone and started to take action. He was stunned and couldn't help but feel a headache. Yes, after knowing that you are 0 hour, I am more willing to join. Ichino's Yuki nodded, with a look of anticipation on her face. Okay. Kurosawa Hikaru saw that she had made a decision, and couldn't guess what she was thinking, but after thinking about it, he nodded. 3 more chapters are here. This is an extra chapter for 2,400 monthly tickets. Please subscribe and vote for me, I have been recommended recently, and I need support. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 269. My mom called me to eat, Guang brother, you should remember to eat too. Okay. As Xiao Yuki's parents returned home and prepared dinner, they ended the video chat. Although they had to eat, they had lunch at nearly 3 o'clock, and it was only 6 o'clock in the evening, so how could they be hungry? He took his phone and looked at line, and there were no replies or messages during this period. Miss Ninomiya did not move, and the group chat was the same. Let's talk to Miss Runa in 2 days. Seeing this scene, Kurosawa Guang thought about it and made a decision. System, where is the reward for today's task? Putting aside this matter, Kurosawa Guang, who was sitting on the bed, thought about it and asked in his heart. Today's things are very complicated, but the contradictions all occurred after the game, and the game process was still very smooth. For example, he completed the perfect level exclusive task peak moment archery skills and was recognized by Shifanjiayuan Zhenlong. It is a pity that he did not do well in handling other things. As he asked, a golden ball of light appeared out of thin air and floated in the air. Kurosawa Mitsuru looked at it and saw some information and text. Exclusive weapon, Yangyuji's bow. Wearing conditions, have perfect archery skills and complete exclusive challenge tasks. Feature 1, everything is a bow. An archer without a bow and arrow in hand is not qualified to be called an archer. The wearer can transform any non-living material into Yangyuji's bow, such as a stone, a grass, or a leaf. Feature 2, all things in the universe, a qualified marksman can control all bows and arrows, and can shoot as long as it is a bow. Yangyuji's bow can be transformed into a bow of any size, any form, any shape, any model, and any weight. Feature 3, unlimited arrow system, a bow must have arrows. The wearer can transform any non-living material into arrows, such as a stone, a grass, or a leaf. Feature 4, magic weapon, my lord, times have changed. Yangyuji's bow can assist in aiming, including but not limited to range, parabola, flight path, and ejection path. After reading the introduction of Yangyuji's bow, Kurosawa Hikaru was dumbfounded. Everything is a bow, a stone, a grass, a leaf, can all become Yangyuji's bow. This means that he can have a bow and arrow in his hand at any time, and no longer needs to worry about not being able to use perfect archery skills without a bow in his hand. All things in the world, this means that he can make Yangyuji's bow into any form he wants, whether it is his current Black Wind or other bows. There is also unlimited arrow system, isn't this unlimited ammunition? There are also magic weapons, with range, parabola, flight path. Carry it with you, disguise it at will, unlimited ammunition, assisted aiming. System, didn't you say that the reward does not include any superpowers? Thinking of the abilities contained in these characteristics, Kurosawa Hikaru was shocked. The system reward does not include any superpowers, but it does not mean that there is no high technology. In response to this question, the system's voice was very calm. Is this really not a superpower? No. Okay. Faced with the system's explanation, Kurosawa Hikaru opened his mouth and didn't know how to refute it. Indeed, the system said that there are no superpowers, but it does not mean that there is no high technology. To be honest, he didn't know whether to be happy or numb for a while. Yangyuji bow is actually a category of bows and arrows, hard bows and heavy bows made of bamboo, wood, copper, iron, tendons, etc. He thought that Yangyuji's bow would at most allow him to have a portable weapon, which could exert the power of perfect archery skills anytime and anywhere, effectively avoiding the trouble of a good cook being unable to cook without rice. But this bow actually has various characteristics and skills, which really surprised him. Originally, his perfect archery skills were already very terrifying, and the appearance of this bow simply turned on the invincible mode for him. System, tell me honestly, are there any hidden monsters in this world? Thinking of the power of this, Kurosawa Guang thought for a long time and couldn't help asking. No. Do you want me to save the world? No. Then why did you give me such a powerful bow? Both possibilities were rejected, and Kurosawa Guang really couldn't figure it out. With this bow, looking around the world, as long as there is no one with superpowers, in terms of archery skills alone, there is absolutely no one who is more terrifying than him. A good horse deserves a good saddle, a good boat deserves a good sail, only such rewards can match the perfect skills. What is the reward for the perfect musical instrument piano? A piano that can be carried with you. Perfect painting skills are to carry a pen with you. Magic pen Mal Yang. Kurosawa Hikaru realized this concept and suddenly thought of a direction. Please explore it yourself. The system did not answer this question. Kurosawa Hikaru stopped asking, and out of curiosity, raised his hand to touch the purple-black light ball. With the touch of his fingertips, the light ball suddenly moved and merged into his palm. As it absorbed, Kurosawa Hikaru had a very strange feeling. He looked around, stood up, walked to the desk, and picked up a pen. There was no change, but as his mind moved, he thought of everything as a bow, and the golden light burst out from his palm and merged into the ballpoint pen. Then, the ballpoint pen in his hand twisted and turned into a heavy bronze bow, which fell into his hand. This is the standard Yanyuji bow. It is not as big as the He bow in terms of size and dimensions, but this bow is very powerful and can better display his archery skills. You know, the He bow is only suitable for standing shooting because it is more than 2 meters long, but this Yanyuji bow allows him to shoot while walking, or even riding. The next moment, his mind moved, and he thought of Senluo Wangxiang. The Yanyuji bow changed and turned into a huge He bow, which was the He bow given to him by his elder brother Jinai, the appearance of Hefeng. Whether it is the appearance, texture, size, or even weight, they are exactly the same. What's more, it has a bowstring, so he can shoot as long as he wants and stands up. Then, he picked up another pen and turned it into an arrow. The weight of the arrow can even change with his thoughts. Invincible. Seeing the bow and arrows in his hand that were exactly the same as Hefeng's, Kurosawa Hikaru was shocked. In fact, when the perfect level exclusive challenge task appeared, he felt that this task, although simple on the surface, was actually murderous. His first reaction was that he didn't want to do this task, because it was terrifying to think about getting 3 women together. But he thought about it again. If he kept it a secret, it would not be a solution after all. In addition, the temptation of the reward pushed him from behind, so he gritted his teeth and made up his mind. Thinking carefully, he actually had many ways to solve this problem, either by stating that he was a playboy before the game, or by running away after the game and telling everyone that he was a playboy. He chose any of the 3 women, and he also did a landmine stepping behavior of kissing all of them. It can only be said that the appearance of the perfect level exclusive task reminded him to confess as soon as possible, but he chose the wrong way to confess. Human power has its limits, but weapons do not. For example, the most terrifying weapon of mankind, the nuclear bomb. While thinking, Kurosawa Mitsuru couldn't help but look down at the Yanyuji bow black wind form in his hand, and was amazed. With this exclusive weapon, even if he is not a superpower, he is close to it. In modern times, a heavy long-range weapon carried with you, what does it mean? Just thinking about it is scary. Then, holding the Yanyuji bow black wind form, he was a little eager to try and shoot something. However, he looked around and suddenly found that this house was too small and there was no way for him to show his fists and feet. I can only wait for the game the day after tomorrow. Realizing this, Kurosawa Mitsuru felt a little sorry and could only suppress his heart. He had a feeling that with this Yanyuji bow, it would be much easier for him to shoot long distances. In fact, today's 100-step shooting was a very difficult challenge for him. Even if he increased the poundage of the bowstring in order to participate in the 60-meter long-range shooting, there is still an upper limit. Because once the poundage of the bowstring exceeds a certain critical point, it is very likely to cause damage to the bow. But with this Yanyuji bow, he can further increase the poundage of the bow and arrow, and it will become easier to shoot more powerful and longer range arrows. He gave up archery, and his mind moved, and the bow and arrow in his hand turned back into 2 ballpoint pens. The reward for the perfect level task, is it so terrible? Seeing this scene, Kurosawa Hikaru felt a surge of passion in his heart. In fact, after obtaining the perfect archery skill, his arm strength became terrifying, and he could easily lift Sayaka Akai, who weighed about 100 pounds. That's right, facing the bow, he felt that he had strength but nowhere to use it. With this bow, he was even sure to accurately hit the target 200 meters away, and a 160-meter 100-step penetration was no problem at all. After being excited for a long time, Kurosawa Hikaru came back to his senses with a phone call. Ha 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 ha, brother Kurosawa, you have become famous with this battle. You don't know how many people called me today, all of them are from the archery world. 100-step penetration, it's amazing that you can do it, It's too outrageous. And the way you shoot arrows is so handsome, it seems to have attracted a lot of attention on the internet. There should be a lot of people watching the national competition the day after tomorrow. When you shoot a few more arrows to open their eyes, you will really become famous and shock the world. Sato Shinichi was laughing heartily, and his words were so exciting that he couldn't stop talking. No problem, brother, are you back home after your work? Kurosawa Hikaru heard his praise and asked with a smile. I just parted ways with my old friend and was on my way home. The wall problem was solved and it will be repaired within 2 days. Thank you, brother. If it weren't for you, I don't know how much trouble this matter would be. Things that can be solved with money are not troublesome. There is another thing I need your help with. Kurosawa Hikaru saw his rich appearance, smiled, and said. What is it? Before Sunday, help me rent a Steinway piano and a violin at the Chasing Wind Dojo. I don't know much about the brand of the violin, it's the brand of violin I will use in the future. Life has to go on, and Kurosawa Hikaru also began to prepare for the future. Just rent? Why not buy it directly? Although Sato Shinichi didn't know what he wanted to do, he wanted to help him to the end when he saw him asking for it. It won't be used many times. It's a waste to buy it and keep it for later use. Just rent it? Kurosawa Hikaru shook his head. When he goes to the dojo in the future, he will definitely focus on archery. Piano and violin are just occasional seasonings. Okay, seeing that he said so, Sato Shinichi didn't force it. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 270. The National University Kyoto Competition, Kanto Region Competition, did not end until 7 p.m. On the first day, the individual competition was completely completed, and the preliminaries of the team competition were also halfway done. The opening and closing times of the Neon Martial Arts Hall will be arranged according to different activities, and they are not absolutely fixed every day. With this result, we should be promoted tomorrow. Your arrow just now was so handsome. As the competition ended, people began to leave and go home. Basically, everyone went together, either with friends or with family, and some couples. The people in the audience gradually left, and became fewer and fewer. Miki Shiraha sat alone in the audience, staring blankly at the field, holding the phone in both hands. The field was very vast, and the martial arts hall was even wider, but her eyes were focused on one of the shooting points. That shooting point was where Senior Kurosawa stood, and it was also the stage where he shot the most arrows in the whole field. As people continued to leave, the staff of the martial arts hall began to clear the field. Many staff members were in charge of the audience seats in different areas, checking if there were any lost items by the audience. A male staff member in his 30s saw Miki Bayu and ignored her at first. Hello, excuse me, the game is over and we are closing the venue. Please take your belongings and leave. After the inspection, he found that she was still motionless. After hesitating, he walked up and spoke. This girl is really beautiful, just like a star on TV. Just sitting there is beautiful like a scenery. The key is her aura and eyes. Her lost and aggrieved look makes people feel pity. If possible, he would not want to disturb her, but the closing time has come, and he must do this out of duty. After hearing this, Miki Bayu came back to his senses, lowered his head to wake up his phone and took a look. It was still the line page. After a simple chat, Senior Kurosawa sent a message. Since adding friends, it was the first time that Senior Kurosawa took the initiative to send a message. She was very happy, but the content of this message was a big blow. I have a girlfriend. This message made her feel helpless. She didn't quite understand why Senior Kurosawa suddenly said this, Was it a continuation of the last question? Was he rejecting her? She didn't know what she had done wrong to become like this. Faced with this sentence, she didn't even know how to reply. Hello. Seeing that she still had no intention of getting up and leaving, the staff had to walk in front of her and wave to her. Sorry, I'll leave right away. Mimabao noticed his distress, and nodded when she came to her senses. Then she stood up, picked up her bag and left. Walking through the audience seats and the passage, Mimabao came to the door of the martial arts hall again. The heavy rain that started at noon has not completely stopped until now, and it is still drizzling. She didn't say anything, just opened her bag, took out one of the two umbrellas, and walked into the rain with the umbrella. In the cold rainy night, her sad and lonely back was somewhat eye-catching. Kurosawa Hikaru stayed at home. After he called Sato Shinichi, he sat at the desk and started drawing. Not bad. After drawing for a while, the work was done. Kurosawa Hikaru glanced at the content on the paper and nodded with satisfaction. On the paper, there was a pattern, based on a circle, with clock elements added, and the 3-hour hands all pointed to 0. This was a new inspiration he had after obtaining the master-level painting skills. Although the previous image was not bad, it was still a bit monotonous as a trademark, and it was necessary to further refine and upgrade it. In fact, if he was greedy for personal enjoyment, he didn't have to be a pianist at all, and he didn't even need to go to the University of Tokyo. He only needed to take the bow of Yanyuji to shoot arrows, study Kyoto, develop schools, open a dojo, and teach students, and his life would be on the peak he had dreamed of before. In addition, he was accompanied by two super good girls, Mirai and Xiaoyuki. However, Xiaoyuki's words woke him up. He shouldn't stay in his comfort zone and be satisfied with the present. Life has to move forward. It's too early for him to give up Miss Ninomiya so quickly. He can still work hard. That's why his goal is to be in the identity of 0 Hour and his career as an artist. Once the goal is clear, the troubles will disappear. While thinking, he continued to draw. There are still many things to draw. At noon on August 11th, two people walked out of YG agency. Free. Ichino's Yuki walked out of the agency, couldn't help stretching, and cheered. Finally, this day has come. Since the face-to-face relationship, she has always worked with everyone in YG agency. The atmosphere is always dull. But now, with the official termination of the contract, this cooperation is finally over. Now, you are a free man. Seeing her relaxed and comfortable face, Kurosawa Hikaru smiled. If I had known that she would be so happy, I should have taken the time to accompany her earlier. Anyway, it didn't take much effort. In fact, it is very simple for them to come to YG office to resolve contract issues. After all, the contract expired and there were no disputes. It was considered a peaceful termination. Brother Guang, there's still half a day left. Should we go directly to sign the contract? Seeing his smile, Yuki Ichino's hugged his arm and asked. Don't worry, let's wait until next week. Kurosawa Hikaru thought about this proposal and felt that it was still a little too early. Although he has found his goal and knows what he should do next. But just because he was mentally prepared unilaterally does not mean that others are the same. Just like yesterday when he wanted to take Xiaoyuki back to his hometown, he didn't care, but Xiaoyuki was very nervous. Now, he still doesn't know exactly how Miss Ninomiya and Miss Runa feel. It should be better to wait a few days and let everyone calm down before contacting us again. There's still half a day left, what should we do next? Ichino's Yuki didn't force it, he just looked around, and with a thought in his heart, he asked in a low voice. Do what? Faced with this question, Kurosawa Hikaru couldn't help but glance at her. Today, little Yuki wore a sparkling big short-sleeved t-shirt with hot pants, Balenciaga stockings, and a pair of dad shoes. She looked cute and beautiful. Facing such a cute girlfriend who even wore black stockings, no matter which boy he is, he will definitely want to do something coy. After what happened yesterday, his relationship with Xiaoyuki has become better, and he has opened up his heart. He no longer has to worry so much. Having said that, what happened yesterday is still fresh in my mind, so it would be a bit uncomfortable to go and book a room today. Facing his subconsciously scorching gaze, Yuki Ichinos knew what it meant, and her face couldn't help but feel a little warm. Although she originally planned to wait until she became a famous model and made money before pushing down Brother Guang. But if Brother Guang wants to, she is actually very willing. Let's go shopping and watch a movie. However, after thinking about it, Kurosawa suppressed the impulse in his heart. Just going shopping and watching a movie. Ichino's Yuki found out that he had an idea but gave it up. After being stunned, he felt a little regretful. After being uneasy about the experience of almost breaking up and being abandoned because of the archery competition, she actually longs for that kind of thing now. The most important thing is that after experiencing yesterday's Shura field, she discovered something. Brother Guang's relationship with everyone is limited to the first kiss, which means that Brother Guang may be just like her, indifferent. Realizing this kind of thing, she was inevitably a little bit ready to take down Brother Guang quickly. However, she actually knew that today would probably be difficult. After all, the incident yesterday had not completely subsided. Don't worry, we'll go to the beach next week. Seeing that she was a little frustrated, Kurosawa Hikaru couldn't help but feel his heart beat faster. Then he lowered his head to her ear and said in a deep voice. Good. Hearing his low and magnetic sexy voice and those heart-stirring words, Yuki Ichino's ears turned red. She glanced sideways at him and nodded. Does this sentence mean, Brother Guang will eat her next time he goes to the beach? Let's go eat something first and then go shopping. Seeing her shy and charming look, Kurosawa Hikaru couldn't help but lowered his head and kissed her gently on the face and said. What are you shopping for? I have enough clothes. Realizing that he had to go shopping again, Yuki Ichino said immediately. She really has a lot of clothes. She is a person who likes to buy clothes originally, and Brother Guang also likes to buy them for her, so it becomes even more. It's not about buying clothes. Today I want to buy SLR lenses, cosmetics, and sunscreen to prepare for my next trip to the beach. Kurosawa Hikaru saw that she was afraid of buying things for her, which was a little funny, but he had already thought about today's itinerary last night. Although it is not as formal as a date mission, the purpose is to be exciting, but it is not bad to take Xiaoyuki together to prepare for the next date. Aha! Ichino's Yuki realized that today was not just shopping, but preparing for a date. She was already a little excited, but when she heard about sunscreen, she agreed without hesitation. I went to the beach with Brother Guang before, and the experience of learning to surf was unforgettable. But in fact, the most unforgettable thing for her was the preparation before swimming and surfing. The two of them were crowded in the narrow dressing room, and Brother Guang helped her apply sunscreen. Such a special experience, even after such a long time, whether she recalled it or dreamed about it, she felt ashamed and moved at the same time. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 271. August 12, 7 a.m., the last day of the Kyoto tournament. Today's weather is very sunny, just the right time for the finals. Early in the morning, the entrance of the Neon Budokan was extremely lively. One bus after another drove in. Unlike the first day, it was only from the Kanto region. This time, all the players were from universities across the country. Each county has 3 winners of the team competition from universities, and the players for the individual competition are the top 6 from each region. That's why each group of people looks quite impressive. Is this the Budokan? It's really impressive. Take a picture for me, take a picture for me. National level competitions are always very lively, because not everyone has the opportunity to come to Tokyo, and some people even come to Tokyo for the first time. Although it's fresh, some people are also paying attention to players from other universities. Kyoto is a sport with a threshold, especially University Kyoto. Some Kyoto clubs even have entrance exams, which completely exclude beginners. In addition, some powerful archery schools even require members to practice 4-6 times a week, and there are assessments for promotion and relegation. Even if they participate in competitions, they must first pass internal assessments. Hosei University, Waseda University, Meiji University, they are still the best this year. Are they really strong in team competitions? Some university archery players who have participated in competitions came to the door of the Budokan, just took a look, and then took their mobile phones to study today's competition list, muttering to themselves. In fact, although the National University Archery Competition is jokingly called student archery by professional archery, it is also a very competitive competition. That's why, over the years, various archery giants have been formed. For example, Ritsumeikan University in Kansai, Tachibana University in Kyoto, and Tenri University. Looking across the country, the two truly competitive regions are Kanto and Kansai. After all, these two regions are also the most prosperous cities. Such giants are usually private universities, which focus more on cultivating students' interests and personal abilities. National universities such as the University of Tokyo are mostly runners-up. As for the individual competition, the attention is generally low. After all, it is difficult for archery players to prove their strength, and with so many people, it is even more difficult to stand out. As the players arrived at the venue, many spectators also came early in the morning. The archery boy is so handsome. That boy is so handsome, I wonder if I can get his contact information. Some girls, seeing the groups of college boys wearing archery hakama, were all envious and wondered if there was a chance to chat with them. Male college students are originally a relatively excellent group. In addition, learning archery can cultivate a martial arts and elegant temperament, which is very tempting for girls who like uniforms. Although the competition did not start so early, at least 8 o'clock, but everyone began to enter the venue one after another and started to prepare. In the midst of the excitement, there was also a car parked in the parking area outside the martial arts hall. Look, Kurosawa is here. Kurosawa. As the car door was opened, an old man and a child walked out, which immediately caused a stir. Kurosawa. Players from various universities were heading to the martial arts hall one after another. Hearing the noise, they all turned back to look for him. In the end, many people found the focus. He was a handsome man with short black hair, eyebrows like swords, and a pair of calm and deep eyes on his well-defined face. Although they were far away, most archery players had good eyesight. When they saw him, they could feel his gentle and elegant temperament. Compared to the day before yesterday, it's really different. Masaki Yosuji smiled and sighed as he became the focus as soon as he got off the car. In the first day of the competition, Kurosawa Hikaru won the whole field with 3 arrows. Not only did the audience at the martial arts hall that day appreciate his strength and handsomeness, but he also continued to be popular in the Kanto region. Why is it so lively? Kurosawa Hikaru got out of the car and went to the trunk to get his bow, a little surprised. Because you're famous, the video of your match that day has been played 270,000 times until this morning. Masaki Yosuji was not surprised by this. After all, he was paying attention to the subsequent impact of that match. 270,000 views, is it high? Kurosawa Hikaru was a little surprised when he heard this. He didn't pay any attention to it at all. After all, he played outside with Yuki all day yesterday and got home at 8 o'clock in the evening. After that, he also sent messages to Miss Ninomiya as usual, trying to get a reply. After finishing these things, he took a shower, washed clothes, and went to bed at 9 o'clock. Isn't 270,000 high? Masaki Yosuji was a little depressed when he saw that his reaction was very calm. The video of Kyoto has more than 200,000 views in 2 days, which is already an exaggerated data. Even more, the reason why Kurosawa Hikaru's playing clips have such a high number of views is thanks to the promotion of TV live broadcast and online live broadcast. It's quite high, but I think it will be higher in the future. Finding that he was depressed, Kurosawa Hikaru realized that he was thinking out of place and explained. Because the number of views for his piano video of Croatian Rhapsody has been calculated in tens of millions, so he feels that 270,000 is very small. But in fact, although Kyoto is considered a relatively mainstream martial art in Nihon, compared to music, it is still a very unpopular sport. After all, Kyoto focuses on actual combat and participation. A simple video can have hundreds of thousands of views in 2 days, which is indeed quite high. It will definitely be higher. Today is the final. Coupled with your previous performance, today's game will attract a lot of attention. Realizing that his goals and ambitions were very long-term, Yosuji Masaki thought about it and smiled. After that, the two of them walked to the martial arts hall together. But this journey has not been smooth. Kurosawa, I like you. Do you have a girlfriend? There was a girl who blocked their way and even confessed boldly. This girl has pretty good looks, and with makeup, she looks pretty, and she also wears black stockings. Sorry, I have a girlfriend. Having said that, Kurosawa Hikaru was not interested in her at all and refused directly. Kurosawa, try your best today. Kurosawa, I love you. Kurosawa. Kurosawa. What's more, in addition to girls, there are boys who admire and are passionate about him. Because on the first day of the competition, everyone present was impressed by Kurosawa Hikaru's 3 arrows. Now he can be said to have officially become famous. Thankfully, when I was an artist, I chose to mask up, otherwise, with my 0-hour fame, the scene might have been even more exaggerated. Facing these onlookers and enthusiasm, Kurosawa Hikaru also smiled and responded to the gestures one by one, walking slowly towards the martial arts hall, thinking secretly in his heart. This time, he finally experienced what it was like to be famous. However, he did not enjoy the situation very much, but felt grateful. Because there is a difference in the definition of status between Kyoto players and entertainers. Kyoto players are similar to athletes. They gain status through strength and have limited attention. Usually, they become popular and then die out after a period of time. Artists are different. Although they will go silent if they don't show up for a period of time, because of the nature of their work, they tend to entertain the public, so they will have more fans. The forest is big and there are all kinds of birds, which will inevitably affect your private life. At the entrance of the martial arts hall, strong teams from all over the country were speechless when they saw his much anticipated appearance. Is he the same Kurosawa who can leap at 100 steps? He looks so weak. 100 steps can penetrate a poplar, and you can shoot from a distance of 160 meters. It's a divine arrow. Don't laugh to death. As members of the Kyoto community, many Kyoto players heard about Kurosawa Hikaru's deeds and rumors over the past 2 days, and saw the video. However, everyone has doubts in their hearts, or even does not believe it at all. You know, let alone the 160-meter ultra-long-range shot, even if it is 120 meters, which is equivalent to the distance of Sanja Sangendo's ultra-long-range shot, being able to hit the target is the focus of the record-setting competition. There is such a powerful person who has already become famous. How could he become famous at this age? That's right. Anyone who has really studied Kyoto thinks that his fame is hyped up by the media and is probably a new project of the Kyoto Alliance. In order to promote Kyoto, the Kyoto Federation often cooperates with major media and finds some famous and popular celebrities to pose for publicity. In fact, those celebrities don't understand Kyoto at all, they just learn the postures and shoot videos. Faced with people's suspicions and prejudices, Kurosawa Hikaru didn't care. He just walked all the way into the martial arts hall and then entered the backstage area, where he was able to calm down. Get up, wash up, and come out for breakfast. Igarashi Runa opened the bedroom door and said. She has been staying at Kinhi's house for 2 days. Although she is a broker, the main business staff of the firm are currently participating in the competition and have no time to start work. The other shareholder is also lying motionless at home. So she also had a few days to relax. Good. Upon hearing this request, Ninomiya Chizuru sat up, her hair a little messy. She woke up early and just stayed in bed playing with her phone. Seeing her getting up, Igarashi Runa didn't say much. She just walked back to the living room and looked at the clock on the wall. It was almost 8 o'clock. Then she picked up the remote control and turned on the TV and looked for the TV station. After finishing it, she sat down at the dining table and waited. Not long after, Ninomiya Chizuru walked out of the room. After washing, she had her hair neatly combed, and her temperament was cool, but her eyes were a little swollen, and she had obviously been crying a lot. She was wearing a high-waisted vest and shorts. She had a hot and sexy figure and looked very lazy and casual. Tisk tisk tisk, look at these legs and waist, I really love them. Igarashi Runa clicked his tongue when he saw her long legs. Don't make trouble. Ninomiya Chizuru noticed her strange eyes and strange tone, rolled her eyes at her, and walked to the dining table step by step and sat down to eat. But not long after, a clear female voice suddenly sounded from the TV. The 34th Nihon National University Archery Competition, the national finals, is about to begin. Before the game officially begins, let us give warm applause to invite Kyoto Norinchi, Sato 9th Dan, and Master Sato to hold an arrow-handing ceremony for this game. When Ninomiya Chizuru heard this, she couldn't help but glance at the LCD TV on the cabinet, but she just glanced at it and retracted her gaze, pretending not to hear it. Sure enough, you still care about him. Seeing that she pretended not to care but didn't ask him to turn it off, Igarashi Runa didn't say anything and ate breakfast silently. 3 more chapters are here. Current average subscription and additional chapters, 24. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 272. The Budokan welcomed many spectators early in the morning. Because it was the day of the finals, the competition was more lively and started earlier than the first day of the Kanto regional competition. At 7:50, most of the players were ready and entered the venue. Just like before, the individual competition was held in the morning and the team competition was held in the afternoon. As the players from various universities entered the reserve seats, the audience seats were very lively. This time, Yuki Ichino's and the hot girl group were all present. The reason why there were so many people was because Shion-Lan instigated all the hot girls to come. However, not everyone was present, such as Matsushita Hitomi and Akizuki Aoi's boyfriend, who let themselves go during the summer vacation. At night, they either went out to race or fight. Only Shiona Ian's boyfriend Sato, who practiced judo, could go to bed and get up early. I tell you, Kurosawa Ze looks super handsome when shooting arrows. Seeing more and more players on the field, Shiona-Lan glanced around and said excitedly. Ha! Akizuki Aoi yawned. She didn't get enough sleep last night. It's summer vacation, but she has to get up at 7 o'clock in the morning. This is too tiring. When does the game start? Matsushita Hitomi is similar. She sleeps until noon every day after summer vacation. She has never woken up so early. She sits lazily on the chair. It starts at 8 o'clock. It's very soon. Ichi-nose Yuki is a little embarrassed to see how tired they are. Because it's embarrassing to drag everyone to watch Brother Guang's game so early in the morning. Why can't I see Kurosawa's Ii? He was sitting over there before. She and Alan didn't bother, but just looked around. Where is Kurosawa? Why hasn't Senior Kurosawa come out yet? Not only is she looking for him, many viewers are also looking for him, including many juniors and seniors from the University of Tokyo, who are impatient. Because Kurosawa Guang's videos on the internet have been played a lot in the past 2 days, and their influence is not small, especially among various universities. The school spirit and tradition of the University of Tokyo is originally a circle, and any major event in the circle will naturally attract attention. In the final analysis, it is because the people in the Kyoto League are very good at publicity. The video of Kurosawa Hikaru's 3 arrows competition was given an exaggerated title, such as God's Arrow and Genius Shooter, and a side photo was used as the cover to promote the handsome face. Because of this video caused quite a stir. Before the game started, the restlessness and movement in the audience affected the whole audience. Sitting in the field, the players from all over the country and various Kyoto strong universities naturally paid attention. What Kurosawa? Many people felt resentful when the limelight was stolen. Logically speaking, they should have been the protagonists today, but they were stolen by an unknown person. Laymen watch the excitement, and experts see the doorway. Even if laymen do not understand Kyoto, they have more or less a concept of it during their growth. Seeing Kurosawa shooting arrows in Hakama, I naturally thought he was super handsome and super charming. When I learned that there was a competition, I wanted to come to the scene to see something new. For insiders, although Kurosawa Hikaru's posture alone is extraordinary, it's just that the 100-step shot and the 160-meter long-range shot, the video is just a video after all, which makes people doubt it. In this era, special effects editing is endless, and it is really hard to tell the truth from the fake just by watching the video. Even if it is broadcast on TV, it makes people doubt it. Especially for players who are proficient in Kyoto, they don't believe it at all, and they all think it is hype. You know, the 160-meter super long-range shot is too exaggerated and too amazing. Not to mention the University Kyoto, which is called a student bow. Even if it is professional Kyoto, no one can do it among the current professional players. Looking around the world, even modern compound bows and recurve bows with sights, top athletes who have won Olympic championships, have not done such an amazing feat. Using common sense, Kurosawa's 160-meter super long-range shot is understandable. However, Kyoto is a martial art that cultivates the mind, and not all players care about the situation outside the field. Compared to this, some strong schools that want to compete for the championship sat in the reserve seats and observed the strong players in today's competition. 5 boys from Ritsumeikan University, the first in Kansai, sat in the reserve seats, sitting upright and calm and not arrogant. They did not make loud noises, but they also moved their mouth slightly and communicated in a low voice. One of the only 4 dan in university archery, Waseda University, the ace player, Ohara Makoto, I wonder how he is doing today. There is no point in paying attention to him. Waseda ranks 3rd in Kanto this year and is not qualified to be our opponent. I heard from a friend that the reason Waseda ranked 3rd in the team competition this time was because Ohara Makoto missed 9 out of 10 arrows. Even so, they still won the 3rd place in the team competition. No way. Ohara Makoto missed 9 out of 10 arrows. That was a close shot. Even if he shot 60 meters, his results would not be just that, right? His teammates performed exceptionally well and dragged him into the finals. In other words, as long as he is in good shape, Waseda will still be the best in Kanto. If we talk about university archery, if there are any star players, Ohara Makoto is definitely one of them. Although he is still a 4 dan in archery, his actual level is close to the 6th dan, which is comparable to professional players. he just has the shortcomings of being too young and lacking experience. Kyoto 4th Dan is already a very scary level. You should know that the requirements of 4th Dan are to have a fixed shooting shape, stable body coordination, elegant temperament, precise use of shooting skills, sharp arrows, and accurate hits. In the case of close shooting, Ohara Makoto can hit the target at least 90% of the time, not to say that he can hit the target 100%. Even if it is a 60-meter long shot, Ohara Makoto has a very high hit rate. With such a terrifying archery skill, Ohara Makoto has become famous since high school, and even won the championship of the University Throne Tournament. Not only Ritsumeikan University, but all the players who have played against Waseda or Ohara Makoto are very concerned about him. However, Ohara Makoto didn't care about people's eyes at all, but was a little restless. As the game approached, his mood became more and more uneasy. Tap. At this moment, Ohara Makoto heard something vaguely and looked back suddenly. At the entrance next to the Budokan, two figures walked in and stepped onto the field. The leader, with thick black hair, sword-like eyebrows, star-like eyes, sharp eyes, deep facial features, walked with a bow in one hand, with a dignified bearing, a calm expression, wearing a pure white archery uniform, slender figure, and steady and powerful steps. Following closely behind him was a middle-aged man with black hair and white temples, carrying spare bowstrings and other things in his hands, following behind him. Seeing him coming, Ohara Makoto's face turned pale in an instant, and the scene of the game the day before yesterday came to his mind. The feeling of powerlessness and insignificance emerged, making his body tremble like sifting bran. He has been praised as a genius since he was a child. After competing with Kurosawa Hikaru on the same stage, he knows better than anyone what kind of monster this man who is younger than himself is. That is the absolute gap between strength and talent, like the difference between different dimensions, which cannot be crossed. Is Ohara Makoto afraid? Are you afraid of him? Kurosawa. Through Ohara Makoto's reaction, the elites of various universities were aware of it for a while and looked over. Just one look at it, everyone is shocked. To be frank, the stronger the strength, the more pressure Kurosawa Mitsuru brings to people. There are many things to pay attention to in Kyoto. The requirements for the rank are not just to hit the target, but also to the daily life, that is, the movements, spirit, aura, etc. in and out of the field. And all the movements of Kurosawa Mitsuru do not need to be done deliberately, just step by step, it is already natural and impeccable. At the same time, the audience also noticed this and immediately became enthusiastic. It's Kurosawa. Wow, he looks more handsome than in the video. The stars on TV are all made up, and they have to be this kind of original handsome guy, and he is also a top student at the University of Tokyo. Senior Kurosawa is so handsome in his Kyoto uniform. Many people who watched the video and came here specially were very happy. Is Kurosawa so handsome? Akazuki Aoi saw Kurosawa Mitsuru's appearance, and she was still sleepy, and she suddenly became energetic. Not only her, Matsushita Hitomi was also awakened by his handsomeness, staring at him with a pair of big eyes, shining. Isn't it handsome? Shion-Alan was very satisfied with their reactions and teased. Tisk as her boyfriend, Sato was a little jealous when he saw her eyes shining, and looked at Kurosawa Hikari on the field, and pouted his lips in a bit of annoyance. Originally, it was annoying enough that his girlfriend was happy because of other handsome guys, but the key was that as a man, he also thought Kurosawa was very handsome, which was the most annoying. Yuki, Kurosawa is looking over here. At this moment, Shion-Alan suddenly became excited. Yeah. Ichi knows Yuki also noticed that brother Hikari, who was entering the field, saw her while looking around, and immediately smiled, feeling extremely proud and happy. Because the team competition of the University of Tokyo was average, and the results of the individual competition were also average, they failed to make it to the top 3 of today's finals, so there was no exclusive regional seat this time. However, there was a chair on the field with Kurosawa Hikaru's name on the back. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Kurosawa Hikaru walked to the chair step by step, sat down, and placed the bow against the side of the chair. If it is a smaller venue, the bow cannot be left in hand. Even if you sit down, you must hold the bow while sitting. However, this is a large-scale competition with too many participants, so there are only requirements for sitting posture, and the bow does not need to be held all the time. After receiving the reward for the perfect level exclusive task, Kurosawa Hikaru has not shot an arrow in the past 2 days, but he has some ideas. The characteristics of Yanyuji's bow, everything is a bow and all things in the world, are very strong, but as long as they are out of his hand, they will return to their original state. Having said that, he is based on the black wind, and even if he wants to integrate the power of Yanyuji's bow, others can't see any clues, or even see the process of change. As long as he doesn't use other things to turn into a bow and arrow, no one will notice anything unusual. Maybe he became famous in the first day of the preliminaries, but today's game is the moment when he really wants to become famous. A good horse needs a good saddle, a good boat needs a good sail. In the national finals, he will use the best bow to unleash the power of perfect archery. As he sat down, Kurosawa Hikaru did not close his eyes to rest, but looked around the audience. He saw many familiar faces, such as Xiaoyuki, Aoi, Ai, Hitomi, and Sato. There are also Shifunjayuan Mirai, Shifunjayuan Shinryu, Misayaka, Akai Kazuki, and the bodyguards. Miyazaki Yoda, Miki Jr., Toyokawa Jr. from the literature department, members of the archery club, and classmates from the economics department of the University of Tokyo. So they didn't come. Looking around the whole venue, Kurosawa Hikaru couldn't help but feel sorry. There were more spectators in today's finals, but only 2 people were missing, Ninomiya Chizuru and Igarashi Runa. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Tokyo's Most Affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 273. The schedule of the finals is quite tight, because there is only 1 day, and the players of the national competition are gathered together. As 8 o'clock in the morning came, the beautiful female voice responsible for the on-site broadcasts sounded. The 34th Nihon National University Kyoto competition, the national finals, is about to begin. Before the competition officially begins, let us warmly welcome with applause, Kyoto Fanshi, Sato Juden, Master Sato to hold the arrow handing ceremony for this competition. Pa 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 pa. Instantly, the whole audience burst into warm applause. Amid the applause, Sato Shinichi also walked with his apprentice, holding a bow, and walked onto the field. When he walked halfway, the applause gradually subsided, and the stage was handed over to him. By the way, the requirements for watching the Kyoto competition are quite complicated. The players can only applaud when they hit the target, and they can cheer and say good when an arrow hits the bullseye. This link again, Xian has seen it before, and knows that this is a boring and long step, so he simply explains it to everyone. There is such a rule. Akazuki Aoi was a little surprised. She was a generous person. She originally wanted to wait until Kurosawa came on the field to cheer for him. Because the archery competition is not a passionate competitive sport, you must concentrate and calm down when shooting. Xian had no choice but to spread her hands. When her boyfriend participated in the judo competition, although he did not achieve any good results, she shouted come on that day. It doesn't matter. Although there is such a rule, there are actually many opportunities to shout come on. Yuki noticed that everyone's enthusiasm was hit, and comforted them. Yuki, are you so confident in Kurosawa? Akizuki Aoi couldn't help but tease after hearing this. Although she didn't understand the rules of archery very well, she knew that it was difficult to hit the bull's eye in archery. Because Brother Guang is very good, Ichinosuke nodded. While whispering, Sato Shinichi's arrow delivery ceremony officially began. One arrow, and then another. Even at an old age, 28-meter close shooting is no pressure for him. This old man is amazing. He used such a big bow and both arrows hit the bull's eye. Seeing this scene, Matsushita Hitomi couldn't help but sigh. This Japanese bow is too big. If it were her, she would definitely not be able to shoot it. In fact, Japanese bows have certain requirements for height. For example, Matsushita Hitomi's body shape is more like a loli, it would be difficult to use. He is Kurosawa Ze's master. It is said that he is one of the strongest people in the archery world. Seeing her sigh, Shianalan, who always likes to warm up the field, also hummed. That show-off and complacent look, people who don't know, think that Sato Juden is her master. Isn't Kurosawa very powerful? Akizuki Aoi was a little surprised. Being able to stand at the top and be called the strongest, no matter what field, is not an ordinary person. Super powerful. Shianalan nodded. In order to give everyone a surprise, she didn't show everyone the video of the first day's competition. Although it is widely spread, it is mostly in college archery. Even if it spreads to high schools, it is mostly in the circle of high school archery. For these young people, although they surf the internet, they don't have time to keep up with current affairs every day. Along with the conversation, the broadcast sounded throughout the venue, which also indicated the progress of the competition. Next, the first round of the national men's individual competition will be held, that is, the 28-meter range, 36-centimeter diameter target. Please enter the shooting range in turn after hearing your name. Because it is the finals, the rules of the individual competition are 5 players per group, 10 arrows per person, and those who hit more than half of the targets will advance to the second round. The number is doubled, so many, it will take a long time to shoot. Hearing this, Shianalan was a little surprised and a little depressed. What does double mean? Akizuki Aoi came to watch the competition for the first time, and didn't quite understand what her reaction meant. The day before yesterday, which was the first day, the individual competition was 5 arrows per person, but now each person has 10 arrows, so the competition time has become longer. Isn't that great? This means that Kurosawa can shoot more arrows and have more opportunities to perform. That's true, but Kurosawa is participating in the men's individual long-range shooting competition. It's his turn to play, and he has to wait until the first round of close-range shooting is over. Don't worry, it's still early. According to the schedule, the competition will be over before noon. Ichinosuke found that she was more anxious than herself, and couldn't help but feel funny, so she comforted her. There are many cameras around the stadium, after all, it's different from the preliminaries, but the finals. On such an important day, more equipment is also to make the development of Kyudo more prosperous. At the same time, the competition continues to progress as time goes by. Is the Kyudo competition so interesting? As the 5 players came to the shooting point one by one, they took off their short sleeves according to the Kyudo etiquette, and Matsushita Hitomi's eyes suddenly lit up. Although she prefers burly guys, she chose the tall and strong Yamamoto as her boyfriend because the huge difference in size and height can highlight her petite and cuteness. But the archery man looks very thin in the long-sleeved archery hakama, but when he takes off his half-sleeves, he basically has muscles. This contrast is very strong, pleasing to the eye and sexy. The most important thing is that these college boys basically look good, and they come from various universities and have great temperament. If you can be patient, the archery competition is very enjoyable to watch. It's okay. Sato looked at his girlfriend's reaction, compared the muscles of those players, and thought about his own muscles, and felt relieved. As a judo practitioner, he has never been bad in physical exercise. Maybe he can't compare with those bodybuilders in the gym, but among high school students, his body is very strong. Although they are hot girls, they are talking and communicating, but they don't make loud noises to disturb others. Can this miss the target? After watching for a while, Akazuki Aoi's patience dissipated and she couldn't help but glance at Lan. At this moment, she understood why Lan was depressed after learning that everyone had 10 arrows. First, they didn't know these players at all. Second, the strength of these players was uneven. Third, the etiquette of archery was too complicated. Every time a player came on the field, he would dawdle for a long time before starting to shoot. For impatient people, this competition was really anxious. The first round of the men's individual close-range shooting competition is over. An hour later, a broadcast sounded. It's finally over. Hearing this voice, Akazuki Aoi put down her phone. It would be great if it was over. Seeing her reaction, she and Alan couldn't help but laugh. Then, the broadcast continued. The first round of the women's individual close-range shooting competition will be held next. The rules are 5 players per group, 7 arrows per person. How long will the women's competition last? Hearing this, Akazuki Aoi's face froze and asked. It's about the same as the men's competition, Ichino's Yuki whispered. This is too long. Realizing this situation, Akazuki Aoi's mouth twitched. At this speed, today's time will have to be spent on this competition. Isn't this too long? Finally, when the time was close to 10 o'clock in the morning, the broadcast sounded. The first round of the women's individual close-range competition ends here. Next, the first round of the men's individual long-range competition will be held. Is it Kurosawa's turn this time? Hearing this, Akazuki Aoi put down her phone and looked up again. Kurosawa is participating in this group, but I don't know when he will appear. She and Alan also breathed a sigh of relief, and then looked at Kurosawa Hikaru in the field. Is he an Iron Man? He sat there motionless for 2 hours. Seeing this scene, Sato couldn't help but sigh. Because he was not very interested in other players, he spent most of his time paying attention to Kurosawa Hikaru. It would be fine if he didn't watch it, but he was really scared when he saw it. Since he appeared on the stage, this guy basically didn't move for 2 hours. His patience is too terrifying. In comparison, other players inevitably have some movements, such as lifting their buttocks or something. After sitting for so long, they are tired. In fact, anyone who comes to watch the game for Kurosawa Hikaru has a similar reaction. The rules of this round are that there are 5 players in each group, 10 arrows per player, and those who hit more than half of the targets will advance to the next round. Players whose names you hear will come on stage in turn. Ritsumeikan University, 4th Dan Kyoto, Yuto Mizuki. Hokkaido University, 4th Dan Kyoto, Hideki Inohara. Is Yuto Mizuki and Hideki Inohara the first to come up? As the broadcast reported, the longtime viewers were a little surprised. Looking at the National University Kyoto, there are only 3 4th Dan Kyoto players, namely Ohara Makoto of Kanto, Yuto Mizuki of Kansai, and Hideki Inohara of Hokkaido. These 3 have been fighting since 2 years ago, and their strengths are very similar. However, the strongest one is Ohara Makoto of Kanto. He ranks 2nd in the country in his freshman year, and last year he won the national championship in the men's long-range shooting group. Not only in the individual competition, Ohara Makoto also led Waseda University to win the championships of various major team competitions, and was the Grand Slam player last year. Kyoto Rikkai University, Kyoto 3rd Dan, Hyaga Shitaku. Ritsumeikan University, Kyoto 3rd Dan, Nakajima Tsuyoshi. Tokyo University, Kurosawa Hikaru. Unlike other players, Kurosawa Hikaru has no rank or level, but when his name was called, the whole audience was boiling. Here he comes. It's finally Kurosawa's turn. Blow up those Kansai guys. Kurosawa, Kurosawa, Kurosawa. All the audience who watched the first day of the competition were excited at this moment. With a bang, countless cheers resounded throughout the venue, as if to overturn the ceiling of the martial arts hall. After hearing the names, Mizuki Yuto and Inohara Hideki, who were heading to the shooting point, stopped and stood still. They looked around and saw that at least one-third of the audience in the entire stadium stood up and cheered. Such fanatical cheers were even more terrifying than a concert, shocking and jaw-dropping. There has never been such a grand occasion in the Kyoto competition. Facing the thunderous cheers, Kurosawa Mitsuru, who had been sitting for 2 hours, took the kurofu with one hand, stood up, and officially entered the arena. Tokyo's most affectionate. Author, Wodada Shuchu Wujin. Chapter 274. Unlike the first day, Hikaru Kurosawa is no longer an unknown player. Holding a bow in one hand, Kurosawa Hikari stood up, bathed in the cheers of the audience, with an indifferent expression, and walked towards the shooting point as if he was wearing a star and a moon. Maybe he became famous not long ago, but as long as anyone has watched his game, seeing him is like seeing a blazing sun. He is like a sun hanging in the sky, and his hot and bright light is enough to eclipse all the players. Kurosawa. 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 The distance from the preparation seat to the shooting point is only a few dozen meters, but for other players, this distance has become very long. Because none of the players have ever seen such a scene. The appearance of a player can actually arouse the carnival and enthusiasm of fans and audiences like a basketball game or a football game. This is a Kyoto competition, but all spectators who like to watch Kyoto are very cultivated and patient. Never have they had such an enthusiastic reaction. Turn the camera on him. At the same time, each photography team was also aware. Already aligned. However, no instructions were needed, the photographer had already found the right shot. Anyone who studies photography is more keen than ordinary people when it comes to capturing shots. Exactly like this, the moment Kurosawa Hikaru stood up, they were already aiming at him. What's more, the photographers already knew before they came that there was only one star player today, and that was Hikaru Kurosawa. Could it be that Kurosawa is very powerful? Chiyukui also wanted to encourage her, but seeing the enthusiasm of the audience, she couldn't help but be suffocated. What an exaggeration! Is Kurosawa actually a big star? Hitomi Matsushita was also stunned. She never expected that Kurosawa would be in such a scene. Sato gasped, feeling his scalp numb. It was so enthusiastic, like a call to overthrow the martial arts gym, it was too terrifying. He could feel the admiration and enthusiasm of the audience for Kurosawa, just like fans at a concert seeing their idol on stage. Such a cry means that Kurosawa Hikaru's strength in archery is absolutely extraordinary. In fact, Shienai was also surprised by everyone's reaction, but she was not very surprised. Seeing their expressions, she was very satisfied. The first person to be named, Suijitsu Yuji, didn't know how he got to the shooting point. Just standing on the shooting point, he felt an unprecedented sense of strangeness. This stage shouldn't be like this, Kyoto should be a more elegant and quiet ancient martial arts. The game is about to start, please be quiet. At the same time, a bright broadcast suppressed the excitement of the entire audience. After the noise receded like the tide, Suiyong regained his composure. He looked back and saw that the man in the fifth position was standing with a bow in his hands. He was very quiet and silent. Was he a big star before he practiced Kyoto? Suijitsu Yuji couldn't help but think so. He had never thought that a Kyoto player could have such a warm and terrifying appeal before. You know, even the most famous Juden Ogasawara in the Kyoto world only makes 1 or 2 public appearances every year, but there is no such horrific on-site response. It would be better to say that when Agazawara Juden showed up, the whole place was very quiet, because he was a highly respected master. No one dared to make a loud noise, they just respected him. Suck. Kyoto is a competition for cultivating the mind. Although Suijitsu Yuji's mind was very confused, he saw the instructions from the review bench with his peripheral vision, took a deep breath, and came back to his senses. Immediately afterwards, as the first contestant, he began to perform Baudo etiquette. The etiquette before the start of a Kyoto competition is first to worship the gods, and then to prepare for the ceremony, such as taking off half sleeves, handing arrows to oneself, and officially entering the archery posture. Following his movements, other players followed closely behind. Although their movements were not uniform, they were in descending order. Wow! Just as he was preparing, Suijitsu Yuji heard another cry. When he was about to shoot, he was not allowed to look around, but because of this enthusiastic reaction, he looked back curiously. I saw Kurosawa Hikaru taking off half of his sleeves, exposing half of his arm. The skin of his left shoulder was very fair, but the muscle lines of his arm were strong. Seeing the real situation, Suijitsu Yongto was speechless. He suppressed the strange feeling in his heart, handed the arrow to himself, held the bow in his left hand, and the arrow and clasp in his right hand, and stood up. During the competition, the requirements of the 8 sections of shooting need to be strictly implemented, because it is a set of movements officially prescribed by Kyoto. This set of actions sounds simple but requires a lot of attention. The first section is to step on your feet, step your feet apart and stand in a good position. The second section is earth building. Keep your upper body steady and assume a good posture. The third section is the bow construction, starting the bow, setting the arrow, and clasping the string with your fingers. The fourth section is from inside, raising the bow and arrow. The fifth section is the lead cut. Keep your hands horizontal and draw the bow and arrow equally on the left and right. The sixth section is meeting, concentrate, aim at the target, and wait for the opportunity. The seventh section is Li, the brewing time. When the momentum and strength reach the peak, the arrow will naturally be released. The eighth section is Kangzan. After releasing the arrow, the archer still maintains his posture, letting his spirit fly out with the arrow and rush towards the target. Any player who can obtain rank certification is familiar with this set of moves. Suiyoyoto also shot the first arrow according to the set of standard movements. The first arrow of the 60-meter long-range shooting was very smooth. Although it did not hit the center of the bullseye, it hit the target. It feels good. Seeing this scene, Shuiyoyoto waited until the applause sounded before slowly putting away his resentment and said secretly. From this point of view, he was not only not affected by Kurosawa Hikaru's appearance just now, but was inspired, and he was holding back a breath of anger in his heart. At the same time, the second player, Inohara Hideki, who is also a 4th-degree archer, also shot an arrow according to the 8th section of the shooting method. The 60-meter long-range shooting, compared with the 28-meter close shooting, requires more concentration and accuracy, and is an extremely difficult competition. Having said that, his arrow also hit the target. Huh! Inohara Hideki breathed a sigh of relief. The first arrow did not fall behind, which was a good start. They are all certified as 4th-degree archers, and their strength is excellent. Even if their mentality fluctuates, they can still maintain their state. But the remaining 2 were not so lucky. The third person, Hyaga Shitaku, a 3rd-degree Kyoto player, missed the target. The fourth person, Nakajima Tsuyoshi, a 3rd-degree Kyoto player, even shot too fast, and the arrow landed about 50 meters away. Because he was next to Kurosawa Hikaru and was the center of attention, he felt the greatest pressure and could not perform at his usual level. As the 4 people finished shooting, it was finally the last person's turn. In theory, the contestants would not look around, but calm down and prepare for the next arrow. But at this moment, All the contestants, like the audience, looked at Kurosawa Hikaru. Maybe it was extremely enthusiastic and noisy before, but at this moment, the whole audience was quiet, and everyone was concentrating on looking at Kurosawa Hikaru, waiting for his performance. Let the world hear your name, Kurosawa brother. Sato Shinichi, who was sitting in the judging seat, looked very enthusiastic and expectant. Come on, Hikaru. Yuki Ichino's was also a little nervous due to the atmosphere of the whole audience. With such an exaggerated attention, Kurosawa Hikaru must perform at his best. Even if he performs at a similar level to others, it will disappoint people. If it were an ordinary person, facing such a scene, he would have been nervous to death. It's too close. However, Kurosawa Hikaru looked at the 60-meter long-range target, but he was unmoved and sighed in his heart. The distance of 60 meters was too easy for him, not challenging at all, and he couldn't even exert the power of perfect level archery. At the same time, he held the bow in his left hand and integrated the power of Yangyuji's bow into the black wind. He originally planned to wait until he challenged the 100-step shooting again to show his skills, but the crowd was enthusiastic, so he went all out. With the fusion, the Japanese bow in Kurosawa Hikaru's hand, although there was no change in appearance, became much heavier. In order to shoot farther arrows, the poundage of the bowstring must be high, and the toughness of the bow itself must not be low, otherwise it would not be able to support such a great force. As the Japanese bow in his hand changed, Kurosawa Hikaru finally started to move, stepped out with both feet, and stood in position. Then, he straightened his upper body, drew the bow, put the arrow on it, put his fingers on the string, and raised the bow. Ka ka ka. Kurosawa Hikaru kept his arms horizontal, and pulled the bowstring with his right hand. As the bowstring was fully drawn, the bowstring actually made a tight sound. Wow! Seeing this scene, everyone was shocked and in an uproar, because as Kurosawa Hikaru pulled the string, the muscles in his left arm bulged, which was extremely explosive and powerful. This strength alone could directly beat other players. How many pounds of bowstring is this? Mizuki Yuto heard the sound of his bowstring being pulled apart from several people, and couldn't help but be shocked. After the bowstring is pulled, there is usually a sound. After all, the bowstring is made of elastic material, but the sound is usually not loud. But the sound can be heard from such a distance, which means that the poundage is terrifying, at least it is a poundage he has never seen before. Kurosawa Hikaru stood upright, pulling the string fully, and the shooting shape was perfect and impeccable, which attracted people's attention and made them addicted. Even those who were watching the game for the first time were aware of the archery posture because they had played for 2 hours before. But at this moment, the perfection of Kurosawa Hikaru's shooting form made people feel sincerely that this was the best. Is this auxiliary aiming? Under the attention of the crowd, Kurosawa Hikaru saw a very wonderful scene. A super straight parabola appeared in front of his eyes, pointing directly to the center of the target 60 meters away. Appreciating the power of Yangyuji's bow, Kurosawa Hikaru finally let go and naturally released the arrow. Bang! But at this moment, something shocking happened. Along with the separation of the bow and arrow, the bowstring that had been taut for a long time actually burst out with a dull explosion. Whoop-puff! The arrow flew out of the string, bringing with it a sharp and whistling sound of breaking through the air, and flew across the sky, drawing a perfect straight line and hitting the center of the bullseye. This sound was terrible. The staff standing near the target, whose duty was to score, were as frightened as if they were watching a bullet flying past. The speed and power of this arrow are so exaggerated and terrifying that even the naked eye cannot keep up with its speed. The thick bullseye couldn't even stop the arrow, it was pierced through and flew out unstoppably, until it flew an unknown distance, then gradually deviated and fell to the ground. Seeing this scene, the staff couldn't help but be dumbfounded. Was the thing in the man's hand really a bow? He believed it was a sniper rifle. 3 more chapters are here. This chapter is an additional chapter for 2,700 monthly tickets.